everybody. Today's outline of the class is the OO methodology, means object-oriented methodology, and stages of object-oriented methodology. There are 5 stages. What are those? We see one by one. So two outlines we see. One is the object-oriented methodology and various stages of object-oriented methodology. So first we see what do you mean by object-oriented methodology, OO methodology. The software development refer to the software life cycle. You know what do you mean by life cycle? It is nothing but analysis, design, and implementation. So these three stages is nothing but the development of the software. We present a process for object-oriented development and graphical notation for representing the object-oriented concept. So we can representing for object-oriented concept, we can use the graphical notations. The process of constructing or building a model of an applications and then details during the design. So at the time of building a model of an application, we build various models, and finally we combine all the models, it becomes as a whole system, then details to during design. So what are the use of OO methodology, object oriented methodology? So the developers and customers can express abstract concept clearly and communicate those concepts to each other. So the users can express their requirement clearly and communicate those concepts to each other. So it can serve as a medium for specification, analysis, documentation, and interfacing, as well as for programming. So these are the two advantages for object-oriented methodology. So object-oriented methodology, it is short form, it is known as OOM. It is the process of object-oriented design in which graphical notation can be used to representing the object-oriented concept. So graphical notation can be used for representing the object-oriented concept. So it consists of building a model of an application and adding details to model during the design. For example, the calculator software, it contains the 4 models: addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. The combining all these 4 models with relationship to each other, then it becomes as a software, calculator software. So object-oriented model methods consist of building a model and adding details to the model during the design. So object-oriented methodology has a various stages. There are 5 stages for object-oriented methodology. One is a system conception, analysis, system design, class design, and implementation. So first point is the system conception. The software development begins with the business analysis or user conceiving an applications and formulating tentative requirements. So users can give the requirements, and developers begins with software development begins with the business analyst or user conceiving an applications and formulative tentative requirement. So the next stage is the analysis. The software analyst scrutinize and rigorously restate whatever given the requirements for the user. It restate the requirements from the system conception by constructing the model. After restating the requirements from system conception by reconstructing the various models, the analyst must work with the requesters to understand the problems, because the problem statements are rarely complete or correct. So the problem statement is complete or correct. If it's not complete, means it is incorrect, you cannot achieve the correct software. So requirement statement must be complete or correct. The analysis model is a concise, precise abstraction of what the desired system must do and not how it will be done. The analysis model should not contain implementation decision. So this is important. The implementation decision not part of the analysis. Analysis model should not contain the analysis decision. It has the two parts. One is the application domain and another is the domain model. So domain model means it is a description of real world object reflected within the system. For example, stockbroker applications might include various objects, that is stock, bond, trade and communication. In application model, it is the description of parts of the application system itself that are visible to the user. So application object might control the execution of trades and present the results. So application experts who are not programmers can understand and criticize a good model. So the next stage is the system design. So development team derive a high level strategy, the system architecture for solving the application problem. So they also establish the policies that will serve a default for subsequent more detailed portion of the design. System designer must decide. So what it decide? What are the performance characteristics to optimize, choose a strategy for attacking the problems and make tentative resource allocations. The class design, the next stage, the class designer adds the details to the analysis model in accordance with the system design. The class designer elaborates both domain. What are both domain? Application domain and domain model. Both domain and application object using the same object-oriented concept and notation, although they exist on the different conceptual model. The focus of class design is the data structure and algorithm. The various algorithms are used for implementing the or designing the system. Each for example is given. Class designer determine the data structure and algorithm for each of the operations on the window class. The last stage is the implementation. The implementer translate the classes and various relationship between the models during the class design into particular programming language by using the various languages, Java program or C program or Python, any other language. It can design into particular programming language, database or hardware. Translate the classes and relationship developed during the class design into particular programming language. The programming should be straightforward because all of the hard decisions should have already been made. During the implementation, it is important to follow good software engineering practice so that traceably to design in apparent so that system remains flexible and extensible. Why it is flexible? So always software requirements are changing, so software change is inevitable. So based on various constraints, software is changed. So every time you have to modify it or you can evolve it. So flexible so that the system remains flexible and extensible. And all these PPTs are taken from the second textbook, Object Oriented Modeling and Design with UML by Michael Arbla and James Ramba. Thank you.